You need to keep your mouth behind your microphone. You're the worst. Because you're always like, I want to put my mouth to the side every time. You're the worst one. You're not the worst.
I know.
One. Ralph's actually the worst one to EQ because his laugh just goes from.
Yeah. So in the car, I have it up, and compared to other podcasts, it's up a bit extra, and then Ralph just full peaks it for me. And I'm like, it's like 5:30 in the morning, heading to work, and just Ralph laughing is just in my ears.
All right, let's get into it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board Game Gateway Podcast, episode number 34. I'm your host, Neeber, and I am sitting around the table with two hosts for this evening's podcast, or today's podcast, whenever you happen to be listening to it. On my right, I've got regular host, Damien.
Hi, I have dice.
He does have dice.
I have dice.
He's promised me he's not going to play with them too much during this podcast.
I lie.
Yeah, I know. And sitting to my left, we have a special guest joining us. We've spoken about him quite a few times on this podcast, but we thought we'd finally bring him in. We have Mr. Rhys. Hello, sir. How are you?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, our
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you so much for coming and joining
That
us.
was a long-time listener, first-time guester.
First time guester, that is right. And for those of you, if you've not heard us talk about him on the podcast, Rhys is one of the fourth admin of the MacArthur Board Gamers group that we all kind of help run, this community group that we help run.
Yeah.
And so we thought it was about time to get you into this podcast because we've talked about the events and gone, yeah, and then we've talked about it, we've gone, yeah, Rhys is great. But it was like, yeah, should we bring him in? Yeah, and so it's lovely to have you here, mate.
Pumped to be here.
Yeah, it's great. So we're going to have a bit of a chat on today's podcast. We're going to have a chat about a few different games. We're going to be having a chat about Black Orchestra. We'll also be having a chat about the new deck building hotness, which is Star Wars, the deck building game. We'll be talking about a podcast favorite, or Damien's favorite, called Potion Explosion. And then our board game gateway, our gateway game of the week. If you're looking at our YouTube channel, you'll see it set up in front of us. We played a game called Cubitos, which is a fun deck building game. We'll get to that later in the podcast. Check the timestamps down in the YouTube timeline or in the description of your favorite podcast app, wherever you are, to skip ahead if you want. But before we get to there, Mr. Rhys, you had a board game day at your house just this past weekend, am I correct?
I did, just on a whim, messaged we have a group chat, like a random one, with a bunch of guys in there that regularly turn up to the MacArthur board game meets, and because we all live in the local area, and actually half a dozen of them said four. There was 5 of us in total.
That's a good number.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all gathered at my place and we played a couple of big ones, and then we played the usual fillers like For Sale, Skull, and yeah, had a great time. The first person rocked up at 1, and we finished Dune Imperium at the end at about 11:30.
Wow, a good 10 hour.
Yeah,
good 10 hour session. That's great. I think those days are some of my favorites where you just go, "Oi, I'm playing games. Anyone want to rock up?" People just like, yeah, all right, let's go. Why not? Let's go.
It was great.
So you said you played a couple of big ones. So let's talk about that. One of the big ones you wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Black Orchestra. Why don't you give us a heads up about what this game is?
So Black Orchestra is a cooperative game. It's played on a map. It's a World War One-ish game. I'm not too good with my World War history or war theme games.
Yep.
But the whole point of it is to kill Hitler.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's
World War II then.
That's literally. Oh, sorry, World War II.
Be World War II then.
So yes, that was literally the only reason why it grabbed my attention and why I wanted to play it for ages. Rob owns it from.
Yeah, one of the
joins us in the
friend
MacArthur
Rob,
Board Gamers. He's been every meet that we have a little tally or what is it, a vote?
Yeah, we have a little poll.
What games to bring?
Yeah.
So someone might put 10 games on there, but 2 of his games will get lots of votes, so they'll bring that. Rob's been putting it up on the poll for 6 months, and it's only getting 1 vote every single time, and it's my vote.
He's brought it every single time.
Yeah.
It's in his bag.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Time.
So how long did it play in? Like
With a teach, 2 hours.
Okay, that's not too
Yeah.
bad. That's not too
Yeah.
bad.
It was pretty good. So what it is, it's a cooperative game. You're all working together to kill Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
There is a map, and there's 7 errors of decks of cards with events that happen.
Yep.
And on the map there is a few areas that are open at the start. There's like a Berlin section, and they're all connected.
Right.
And then they branch out to different countries, and
Okay.
you aren't allowed in some of those countries until it happens in real time. So the errors go from 1 to 7.
Yep.
And say a country all the way up here on the map won't open up until late in the game, so you can't actually go there
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
until
Yeah,
those
yeah.
events start to
Yeah.
unfold.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're working together to kill Hitler, but you have to have a plot to kill him. So there's one central deck that everyone draws cards from, and you can get special powers like teleport from here to there instead of having to travel. There's plots, which there is not many of them. I think there's like 8 in a whole deck of like 100 about 100 cards.
Yeah, I'm just looking at an image here. One of them says like plot A is the lone revolver,
Right.
which requires
So,
conspirator.
on the left of the left hand side of the plot card, it'll say you have to have a certain mandatory requirements to
Such as-
attempt the plot.
Such as this, a conspirator must be in the same space as Hitler.
Correct.
Is the
Gotcha.
element?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then on the right hand side, there's optional ones. Can you read them out for me?
Yes. So this one here, for example, says you need to have some weapons. You need to have an SS badge, and you need to have the Wehrmacht,
Right. So
which is in red for some reason.
that might be a player's certain character type.
Right. Okay.
So there's like civilian, that whatever that was.
yeah, probably like a person who would be near.
Yep.
Near.
And there's 2 others. Right. So let's say you are that character.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get to roll 1 extra dice to try and kill him.
Right,
So on the
okay.
left is mandatory, and that's your lowest one.
Mm-hmm.
On the right is the optional extras you can pick up as well to roll extra dice to fortify your chances of
Gotcha.
killing
Okay.
him.
'Cause
Right.
that was going to be my next question. Is like, how does it all happen? Because with you sort of mentioning the plot cards and things like that, it almost sounds a little bit pandemic-like. In that you have different roles and you need to, and sometimes those roles have to work together. But that was going to be my next question. So the actual act of defeating Hitler. So you're saying it's a dice roll. in the end.
Yeah. So there's 4 actions. You can take them. You can draw cards from the dossier deck. You can move one square. So that will be one. So you get 3 actions to do out of a possible 4.
Gotcha.
So you can move 3 times. That's it. You're done.
Mhm.
You can draw 3 cards. That's it. You're done. I can't remember what the term is, but you can roll. If you have 3 actions left, you can roll all 3 dice, and on the dice there'll be a 1, 2, 3, a 2 target hit point targets.
Yep.
And an eagle. Eagles are bad.
Mm-hmm.
The hit points are what are used to kill Hitler, or they can go up on this track on the left, and once you bank 3 target points up there as a group, you can cash them in, and you can raise one of your motivational points up.
Yep.
Or you can decrease Hitler's
Suspicion
level.
Mhm.
So the higher his suspicion of you, the higher it is.
Yep.
And your motivation has to be either extremely like all the way at the top or one below that. Otherwise, you can't attempt any of the plots.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a big balancing act here,
Yep.
So,
and the event cards up the top can decrease those for you.
Gotcha.
So
But then-
looking here, each player you can start off. It looks like you start off as timid. Is like
Yep.
you're timid on this, but then you can go from timid to skeptical to positive to committed to zealous.
Yeah.
So like if you're zealous, that means you're full committed. To doing it, sort of thing.
The thing that the thing that I'm finding funny so far is that you need a plot, a reason to get rid of Hitler, because apparently him being a genocidal maniac is not a good enough reason to get rid of him.
Looking at the character cards that we have here, we've got Carl, Goa Delo, which is
Yeah.
he's a civilian, but then you also have someone who's in the SS who's probably, realized he's probably on the bad side, and then you've also got, it looks like there's a whole bunch of different characters that are inside of it. But this looks like a lot of fun. This looks like the main board. It looks like it'd be a lot of fun to, like shooting around the board, trying to get your plots, trying to get that. Did you play with all 5, or did you play
Yeah,
with
we
4?
played 5.
Right,
Max
okay.
players.
Nice.
It was great.
Did you in fact kill Hitler, or did you
Rob-
fail to stop World War II?
Rob was the only one who had an attempt on him,
Okay.
and we failed by one
Oh no.
one crosshair symbol.
Jeez.
Yeah. Other than that, we kept stumbling around, getting arrested, and they force you to discard cards, and some of them will be plots. So there was a period of time when none of us had plots, so we just had to farm the plot deck.
So people were like, "We need to kill Hitler."
Farm the
How?
dossier
I don't
deck.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, a legitimate question on that though is that you entered the sort of like the situation where you were trying to basically farm the deck for the right card.
Yep.
Do you think that could be a problem with the game? Is that potentially you have to potentially the card you need is at the bottom of this deck, and the only way you're going to get it is if you go through the whole deck? Or are there ways for you to be able to pull cards out of the deck?
There is in the dossier deck, there is a card, like a special power that says you can pull any card from the discard.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And the last question I had is it's truly co-op, so everyone is
Truly
playing
co-op. Yep.
again. Okay, so
Is there any quarterbacking that can go on in this, or
A
little bit?
maybe if someone's more experienced, like there was a lot of like questioning, like, hey, should I do this, or should I try and move over to here to pick up this item so we have better chance at the plot for the optional extras.
Yeah.
But no one was quarterbacking in our group.
Okay,
Nice.
that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good to know.
Yeah, look, that's obviously forever a problem. in
Yeah.
co-op playing
Did you
games.
enjoy your time with it? I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd play it again in a heartbeat,
Fantastic.
especially with the group that we played with. It was really good.
And that's
Do you-
I hate hearing things like that because once upon a time, so very very early in lockdown, very very early after our first lockdown, I remember EB Games was selling Black Orchestra for like $20.
Oh.
And they
Really?
and they couldn't get rid of it. It just sat there, like copies just sat there, and I've lost count how many times I would go for my
For
wall,
$20, mate.
master.
I'm gonna be
Big trick,
honest.
like $20, and it's like no, because it was co-op, and it was
Right,
like
okay.
I'm in isolation. It's like my kids aren't going to play this. I just put it back.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever get it to the table with one of my groups, personal groups, but for $20, I'd buy that easily.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it looks like you had a good time, and the game day was a big success. So that's great to hear. So you also you got to play Dune Imperium for the first time.
Yes.
Talked about it a couple of times. What do you think of it? Your first impression?
So when you guys were talking about it, I had no idea what was going on.
Yep.
When it was laid out in front of me,
Still had no idea what was going
yeah,
on.
it's
Still had no idea.
for me. I'm not as big as what you guys are with like your euros and worker placements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This was a bit big for me
Yeah.
right off the bat,
Yeah.
and I kept. It was even 3/4 into the game. I'm like, this icon, can I do that now?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only even if I know it doesn't look like it's a game for me because it's still so highly rated as a great game.
Mhm.
I'm always down to try those games.
Yeah.
And Dune Imperium definitely was one of them, and because I'm a deck building guy, that was definitely
see,
another reason.
It's a little weird because I'm like you. I really like deck builders, but
Yeah.
Dune Imperium is not super deck buildy. It's
Yeah,
kind of
it kind of takes a back seat.
it's almost like Res Arcana in the sense of that you have limited cards to do the actions. You need to get a limited deck and then try and use that to its most effective. Like if you go into it thinking of it like a Dominion or a Clank, for example, where it's like I can just make this thing like get cards and make it really cool. And it's like no, it's like it actually focuses more on the worker placement more than it does the deck building. The deck building is there to help make it leaner and more critical.
Yeah, and I find you have to lean into your faction ability.
Mm.
It's like if you're I think it's the Bene Gesserit that controls the money.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's you have to lean into that. It's like you just realize like I'm not going to get spice by fighting for those positions because it's not likely I'm going to win that. So I've got to get it through either, the card market or something like that. That like I think Dune Imperium is one of those games where, like you, the first time I played it, I thought it was fine. Yeah, I got it. I thought it was fine. Second time I played it, that was when I really liked it.
Yep.
Because there were a lot of icons, there were a lot of symbols, and I didn't appreciate the value of certain spots until after I played it the first time, and then realized why I was getting screwed over by people getting to certain
And I'm
spots.
like you, it took me my third play to actually understand what it was I was doing there. Because I was like, the first game, I'm like, I don't get the hype. And then I'm like, I kind of like it, but I don't get what I'm missing here. And then I tried it a second time with another random group, and I'm like, I still don't, I kind of like it. And then one final person went, okay. And they were like maybe 9 months in between each play. And then my third and final one was when I played on TTS with Imran, who's one of the MacArthur board gamer. He's in the group. And we played with the expansion, and then it just clicked. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be focusing on this deck building part. I need to actually be focusing on the board.
Yeah.
The deck is like, but because they give you coins and they give you like this market of cards you can buy, you immediately draft your eyes to there, and you focus on there for nearly the whole game.
Yeah.
And then it's not until you realize, oh, I need to actually focus on the board instead, then it feels like
it started to click for me about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
When I was a couple points behind, I'm like, well, I need victory points. So how can I get them the quickest and the easiest? I need to go to this spot, but I need lots of spice for that. I don't have spice. All right, now I need to go to there. Rob goes, he takes the same spot that I just needed. I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
And then you start to understand the worker placement thing of like first player is so important.
Yeah,
because
very.
there are spots where it's like, okay. And this is what we played Kanban EV last night, which is a very big worker placement game, or action. It's an action selection game, as Damien would say. But that's the big point of it, which is that there are limited spaces on the board. You need to either get there first or have a backup. There's none of this, and it is very important to go first. So,
it really doesn't help when you have two people at the table
who
are just trying to stab each other for no reason, and then it results in us losing turns in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Anyway.
All right. We'll talk about that one more in a later podcast, I think, because I think we need to actually get Ralph's copy and actually have a proper in-person game again. Yeah. All right. I'd like to move us on, though, to another game that has recently come out. It's now hitting the retail shelves. I would like to talk about the Star Wars the deck building game. This is a new release on the board gaming scene. We actually have a let's play of it from Tabletop Simulator on our YouTube channel, so you can go to www.youtube.com, obviously, and then you can type in @BG Gateway into the search bar. You'll find our channel there, and you will actually find our deck building game let's play. Would you stop rolling those things?
I'm not rolling dice. I am stacking dice.
You're clanking those dice, and people are going to be wondering why I'm going to get annoyed at you.
I said I had dice.
Yeah,
and I said I lied that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play
These aren't
dice.
so loud. Stack the little,
stack the
animals.
wooden chips. Anyway, if you want to see what we're talking, if you want to see why I get a little bit annoyed sometimes, you can see the shenanigans on that YouTube channel. Go and look it for the live stream. Anyway, Star Wars the deck building game. Let me have a chat about this. So, it was released this year to retail, and it is a 2-player deck building game. And the deck building experience is the same as you would expect, which is that we both start with 2 identical decks of cards with money. And the objective of the game is one player will be taking the side of the Rebellion, and one side will be taking the Empire. We all know which is the coolest faction to go with. We'll say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Empire.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I love the Rebellion, but they're not as cool as the Empire. Let's be honest.
No.
Anyway.
Until they bring out the Jar Jar Binks expansion.
No, we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, Dark Lord Jar Jar Binks.
No. Until they bring out the expansion with the Eagles from Lord of the Rings comes into it as well, because why not?
Yeah, why not?
Then hey,
yeah, cool.
Anyway,
Rebels win.
So the way that this game works is that we each the winner of the game is the first person to destroy 3 bases of the opponent. You get to choose. You start with the same starting base. I like to play the variant of you just get to pick whatever base you want.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, it's a lot better. And then throughout the game, you can do there are 3 different currencies. There is your normal currency to buy people from the central deck, what's called the Galaxy row, I should say. That's 6 cards sitting in between the 2 players, and you can go and buy characters from there. There are the guns that you can shoot people with, specifically the bases, and then there is the force points. So the rebellion always starts with the force, and there are ways of being able to manipulate this force track to be able to get special abilities. So if there may be some cards that say, hey, if the force is with you, get some bonus attack and stuff. What makes this game really cool, though, is the central Galaxy deck, in my opinion, which is there are 3 sorts of cards that you can find and buy. The first is you can buy your own, own factions, cards and unique characters. They're heroes like Darth Vader, for example, or Han Solo for the Rebellion. But if I'm the Empire, I can't buy those cards. I can't buy Han Solo because he belongs to the Rebellion. But I can kill them. I can shoot them and I can go what's called bounty hunting, and essentially go, all right, you didn't buy him fast enough. Pew, 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 pew. I just shot him, and now Han Solo is no longer available to you. And I think that's one of the coolest things.
So Han didn't shoot first?
Not in my game. No,
Okay,
I shot him dead.
Okay.
And so that's the first. You can go bounty hunting. There are capital ships. These are the ships that you can buy. They act as defense for your base. They also give you little things that you can buy them and bring them in. And then you've got the neutral characters, which tend to be like the scoundrels and the bounty hunters
and Jabba.
And Jabba the Hutt, the bounty hunters, the crime syndicate, all that kind of stuff. And they can be bought, and you can add them in. And then through standard deck building mechanics, you draw 5, you play all 5. Some cards allow you to draw more cards, some allow you to do extra damage, some allow you to manipulate the force, and then you play all of the cards, then you do everything you can on your turn, you do as much as you can, and then you pass it to the opponent for their turn, and away you go back and forth until someone kills 3 bases, and then the winner. Rhys, you and I have played this game. Damien hasn't.
Nope.
What do you think about this game?
For a deck building game, as much as the theme doesn't really shine through for cards, just playing in and out of your hand, it works really well based on the factions, and you can shoot the opponent's factions down.
Yep.
The characters that they can recruit, bounty hunting.
Yep.
And putting ships out in front of your world is really good.
I have to say, I think this may be so I am also a resident Star Wars nerd. There's a Star Wars right behind me on the video. You can see there, I've got the stuff up there. I think this may be this would be my second game that I would introduce someone to deck building for. That's how good. I think it's that good. I really, really like it. I understand what you're talking about, the theme. Like, hey, if I've got Darth Vader, it may not necessarily feel like I'm playing Darth Vader, but there are some really cool abilities out there. Like Darth Vader, for example, he's like, I get 2 force points and 4 attack, which is really good. But if the force is with me, hey, I get an extra 4 attack. So he's really scary sort of thing. But there was a game that I played with Ralph where he just had 2 B-Wings, which are a pretty cool, ship. And I just couldn't stop him. I'm just like, I just could not stop this thing. And I was like, this game was over in like 20 minutes.
And that's the question that kind of really leads into the question that I have. So basically, the game that you explained sounds a lot like Star Realms to me.
It feels a lot like Star Realms.
If you have a lot of deck builders, it doesn't change the game. It doesn't change. It's not something you need to go out and buy.
Yeah.
I would only say go out and buy it if you have a lot of deck builders and you're a Star Wars, big Star Wars fan.
Because the thing about, so for listeners, for those who haven't played it, so Star Realms is much in the same light, the same thing. It's a deck builder where you take a faction, your opponent takes a faction. By now, I'm sure there are dozens of different
There's a
factions.
lot of different factions.
So many expansions that you can buy. And it's very much that same thing where you are upgrading your deck, you are trying to and you're spending the entire time either trying to shoot your opponent's ships, and ultimately you're trying to destroy their space station, or their 3. Is it 3 space stations?
It's one.
Was it one?
It's 1 at 40 hit points, I believe.
That's
in Star
right.
Realms.
Yes. Or you're trying to defend your own, and as much as I had fun with that game, very, very like years ago, it's been quite a while since I played. I'm pretty sure, but I'm still pretty sure my set is just all tattered and such. The biggest issue that I had with it is that the game can be over very, very quickly, or you could just have an unstoppable turn, not because you built your deck intelligently, but because you just had the 2 cards that you needed to come out at that particular time in a deck of 30 cards, whatever it is. I can't exactly remember how many cards. And that was always the issue that I had with the game. It as much as the factions seem balanced, I always felt like that it was just too swingy compared to some deck builders. And I know we are sort of, I know I am splitting hairs here, and I'm comparing sort of apples and oranges to some degree.
That's fine.
That's
literally why we're here.
But this is why I find in games like Clank, and I know Rhys, you love Clank. Like we've played it a bunch together.
Yeah, of course.
And the thing about Clank is that wobbliness that you get in deck builds doesn't matter, because you're trying to get around a map. Who cares? There's always something for you to do. Whereas in a game like Star Realms, or it sounds like in Star Wars, there is the only thing you're trying to do is shoot your opponent's ships faster than what they can shoot you. So the concern I have is that with Star Wars, what makes Star Wars different to Star Realms?
In Star Realms, can you shoot the market of your opponent? That's the big thing here, and that's what I really like about this game, which is, I will admit, it does have a problem in the sense of that if the Galaxy Road comes out and it is all pointing to your opponent's faction, you can feel like, I cannot buy anything, I cannot upgrade myself, it sucks. There is a variant that does allow you to do things like, for example, some of the bounty hunters, if you don't have enough money, you can actually just pay the bounty hunter a value to get them away so that you can draw some more stuff. But however, the fact that you can go bounty hunting and go, all right, I'm going to lay damage onto that guy and get the reward, whether or not that be some extra gold, that be some force points, maybe an extra draw, is really cool. And that's the mechanic that really made me go, okay, I get it. Now, in saying that, Rhys, I don't know if you felt this, but when you are playing it, you can feel like it does suffer from that. If someone does get those cards before you have a chance to bounty hunt them, then you can just go, oh, like I can't stop. Like that game that I played with, the first game that I played with Ralph, he got the B-Wings. The game was over in 20 minutes because I just couldn't stop them. I had no way of defending. There were no capital ships. However, the next game that we played, game 2, I ended up winning because I got all the capital ships and he couldn't bust through my defense. And then I was able to take the game by stalling it for long enough to get myself to a point where I'm like, okay, I can do stuff. The third game was a lot closer. And it does feel like the more that you play it, you start to understand what cards are really important for your opponent, no matter under what circumstance. And that is something there, but Rhys, I don't know if you found that as well, but that seems to be the main difference between that and Star Realms.
Yes, I've played 3 games of it, and at least twice there was a big swing of I got no guys here. What's going on? Who shuffled this?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that and look, I'm not trying to sound negative on the game. I haven't played it, so who am I? To comment on this, but it sounds like it sounds like it's actually primed for expansions as well.
100%.
Because of that, though.
I am trying to figure out what expansions they will bring out, right? Because
they could do all 9 movies. There's 9 expansions done.
Well, the problem is that
then there's Rogue One, then there's Solo.
No, they can't do Rogue One. No, but
Rogue
One's already done.
But the problem is that because the 2 factions here are the Empire and the Rebellion, right? But in the Empire is Darth Vader, so they can't do the Sith faction and they can't do the Jedi faction because Luke is in there as either. But maybe they can do something like the Mandalorian faction is one that they could do. They could actually have a more diplomatic one, which is maybe they could have like I don't know. You'd probably have to pick all the different races from the different Star Wars movies. But
then again, this is a Fantasy Flight product. Fantasy Flight are famous for releasing expansions where they actually say, get rid of these cards, put these ones in instead. Maybe they do something like that.
Yeah.
Look, I definitely don't want to take away from the gloss because you two clearly do really enjoy the game. So they're absolutely. I definitely want to give it a go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely one of those games as well that I'll be keeping an eye on because I'm curious to see where they take it because it's Star Wars franchise. It's a deck builder akin to Star Realms, and Star Realms has big box editions, and then they still had more stuff added to it. I would be very surprised if there weren't already expansions.
So as soon as I finished my first game of playing it, I took a closer look at the components, and the first place I looked was down in the bottom corner of the card, and there was a little set symbol there.
Yeah, that does not surprise me that they're going to bring out more stuff.
Immediately, it was like, okay, cool, expansions. When?
Like, I got my copy for $40, right? And for $40, I go, absolutely worth it. When it first came out, I was like $55, whatever. I got it at 40. I'm like, this is good. But like, this is a really good product for people who are either really into Star Wars. I think the theme fits it really well. Or it's for people who maybe want to have a 1 versus 1 game with their friend, or you want to try the deck building. I still think Dominion, even though it's the most common answer, is the best deck builder is the best intro deck builder because they properly get that. But this, with the theme, makes it easy enough for someone to jump into. And the games are actually relatively quick. I mean, yes, they're swingy, but the swinging games are over in like 20 minutes. And when that happens, you're like, that's cool. All right, let's shuffle and go again. Like, It's not as if I'm playing for an hour and then go, I was locked out of something for an hour. So, anyway, I really like that. I do want to give a big shout out to the designer, Caleb Grace. It is really, really good. Fantasy Flight is obviously publishing it. So, I look forward to talking more about content when it gets released. I think it's really good. But we are going to talk about one more game now. We're going to move on from the Force we're going to move on to something now that, Damien, you want to have a chat about. Our final game before we get into our Gateway Game of the Week. But before we get there, we're going to talk about Potion Explosion. You posted about this on the Facebook page the other day.
I did. So a couple of days ago, at the time of recording, I posted a photo where I was playing Potion Explosion with my 7-year-old son. My youngest son, he's always been interested in board games, but it's mostly Spot-It. And this was the first time, and with all of my kids, when they say we want to play a game, I will say, look, just go to the shelf, pick a game, we're going to play it. And then I hope they pick a game that I remember how to play. Thankfully, he picked Potion Explosion. Did I remember how to play it? Kind of. But no, so Potion Explosion, what it actually is, it's a recipe fulfillment game. So what that is your goal is to get stuff, resources, colors, in this case, marbles. And you are trying to use different colored marbles to complete different potions that are in front of you.
Like recipes.
Recipes, yeah. What the interesting sort of hook in this game is how you're actually claiming these resources or these marbles. As you have a board, there is a proper name for it, and I can't remember what it is, but essentially it's a track, or it's actually 6 tracks.
5 tracks.
5 tracks?
5 tracks.
5 tracks of marbles.
I'm looking at a photo right now. It's 5 tracks.
I will not doubt you. Okay. 5 tracks of marbles in front of you. And due to gravity, the marbles will roll down out to a base board. And the cool thing is that when you take a marble, so on your turn, you can take any marble you like as long as it's in a visible section of the track. So you can't stick your finger underneath the hidden section. And you get to keep that marble. Great. Is your turn over?
No.
Hopefully not.
Oh, God.
Because the reason why you're taking this particular marble is that the other marbles above it will roll down. Mm-hmm. And your goal is to get marbles that are rolling down that are then going to touch marbles of the same color. So hypothetically, let's say you have a set of 3 marbles. You have a red, a blue, and then a red above that blue one. So, and you want to get all 3 of those marbles. Instead of doing it over 3 turns, what you do, you take the blue, then the red that was above the blue roll down and touch the red that was below the blue,
Yep.
you've caused an explosion.
Love it.
Which means you get to take those 2 marbles as
Love
well.
it.
However, this then causes a chain reaction.
There's more.
You can keep
it just
going.
keeps cascading.
Keep cascading.
So a la Candy Crush and a la the
Yes.
Connect 4 style games.
That stuff.
Oh, God, this sounds exciting. Oh,
So-
my God, I'm in.
And so what you then can do is you take all the marbles in your hand, whether you can hold them all or not, doesn't matter. In the case of my son with his little hands, it's like marbles are going everywhere, but that's fine. You then basically put these marbles on the potions where you match colors. So potions will have 2 or 3 rows of colors and slots. Some potions that are worth more points will have more slots, therefore requiring more marbles.
If you can,
If you get and depending on how many marbles you take on your turn, you may be able to finish these in one go.
Do the potions have like special powers or something?
They
if you
do.
complete them?
So once you complete the potion, you get the special power associated with that potion.
Right.
Cool.
So one of the powers could be you can use one of the marbles in your supply, and just say any colored marble, you can treat it as a wild color. Okay. One potion could be you can take one of your opponent's marbles, or another power on a different potion is you get to take all the unique colors from the bottom row. It is a properly fun game. My 7-year-old had never played this game unaided before. I just reminded him of what the rules were, and away we went. So it is absolutely family friendly.
That
And
makes me excited because Evie is now 6, and I'm like, this sounds like a game that I'd be like, she'd be right. This sounds
she
rolling
would
marbles and
100% love it.
yeah, okay.
Okay, and then my son's favorite thing is that after you've completed all these potions, you get to throw all the marbles back into the tray. And you get
that's
to
what I
watch
was
them
about to
all
ask.
roll down.
So you don't actually choose which one they go into; they just randomly
No,
fall
you just
into it?
throw it into the top tray, and the only rule is that they have to cleanly roll onto one of the tracks. So if ones get stuck, you just take them off and
Roll it back.
roll it back in.
That sounds cool.
And basically, and you keep doing this, and you keep filling potions, taking new ones off the stack, and filling those until the bonus tokens are all collected at the end of the game. So once all the bonus tokens and the number of bonus tokens dependent on the number of players, once they've all been collected, that's it. End the game, move on, tally up your points, happy days.
Thank you for adding another game to our gateway game of the week that we
that
need
sounds
to like
like a heap
clear
of
at some
gateway
point.
game.
This
We will-
literally sounds so simple.
We will absolutely play this. One thing I will say to our listeners is if you're on the hunt for this game, it is absolutely available. I know there is an expansion for it. What I would say, though, is it's in and out of print. It can be a tricky one to get. It does appear on the seconds market regularly-ish.
Yep.
However, if you are picking it up, make sure you pick up the second edition, not the first edition. I have the first edition. The biggest problem with it is that track. The track is made of cardboard.
Right.
And our track has warped and it's just getting old.
Right.
Whereas the second edition, the track is made out of plastic.
Okay.
It just holds up a little bit better.
Well, the game is now 8 years old. It was released in 2015, so it's been around for a while. And it sounds great, but the reaction we got from the Facebook page was people loved, were like, oh my god, I love this game. And like, to give you an idea, like this game is currently ranked on Board Game Geek 499th, right? Like there is that's really freaking high. Like people will say that and go, well, it's not top 100. It's like, man, that doesn't matter. It's got a good rating. It's like people love this game, and the fact that it has an expansion means that it's sold well enough that the publisher was like justified giving it an expansion.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I haven't played with the expansion. I know it adds an additional player, and that's fine. I've never delved into it because I have no need for it because I play it with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look, it's a strong recommendation from me. I bought it. I literally bought it secondhand from someone on the market. It's years ago now, and it was just one of those. Oh, I'm selling this game, and then I saw Potion Explosion in the photo, and I said, "Are you also selling that?" And he went, "Oh, yeah, all right." And I made him an offer, and that was it. I ended up with 2 games. I don't regret it. In fact, I've moved the other game that I actually bought from.
What was it?
on.
Do you remember?
I do have a question about the game.
Can't
as well.
remember, to be honest with you, but I don't have.
Do you find that is there any does the luck of the balls coming out really matter at all? Do you feel like
No,
not really?
I don't think so.
Is it light enough that you can just let it kind of go?
Yeah, it is absolutely light enough. And you can spend time min-maxing. So, when I play this with my eldest son, he will do that. He will min-max the hell out of every single track. And
Right.
so on his one turn, he will do everything he can to get as many marbles as possible. But it's still easy enough to do that. So
Okay.
it's still quite light. I know there are some people out there as well. So when you get the game, you will get a number of extra marbles as well. There is an even distribution of the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people will sit there and count all the marbles and make sure we don't do that at home. We
Okay.
just whatever marbles go in, whatever don't fit. If it turns out that all the yellows are left over, then it just means we're playing with fewer yellows. This game, kids. That's it.
Be aware of it. Go other things.
That's it. Yeah. So look, great game. It is absolutely family friendly. It is a ton of fun. The tactility of the marbles is brilliant.
I suppose they'd also make noise as they clank down as you roll
Yes.
them and stuff, which would be fun.
Absolutely. So that is Potion Explosion.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to go from the marbles and the circle world to the world of dice and cuboids. We're going to add in, and there they are, shaking away in the midnight oil. We're going to be talking about a game called Cubitos as our gateway game of the week. Rhys, you brought this one to us because you have been asking us to play it with you for a while.
Yeah,
and
a
we
little bit.
thought this is it's a great game. We know a little bit about it. But haven't actually had a chance to get it to the table yet. So let's have a chat about Cubitos. We've got it in front of us, as you can see here. So tell everyone what Cubitos is and why they may like it, and then we'll have a chat about our pre-podcast gaming experience.
Cubitos is a 2 to 4 player wacky racing game with elements of dice building, which is essentially deck building. But
I love how you
with
say
dice.
wacky racing. I was like, yep.
Yes, because there's a
absolutely
lot of wacky characters up here, like Smelly Cat, Rich Dog, Soldier,
With his fighting sticks.
Rollosaurus,
Soldier.
a
and
beaver over there,
Mr. Dugout,
and the dinosaur. Yeah, the dinosaur, the big stomper.
Rollosaurus. I love him.
Yeah, and it's also a push your luck game, meaning you can start rolling your dice, and once you get to a certain point, you can keep going
Mm-hmm.
and risk busting and losing everything,
Mm-hmm.
or you can settle, be happy, and move a little bit, and maybe buy a little bit.
I like how you say risky. It's never a risk. Just keep going, mate. You just keep rolling.
Yeah, so on your turn, you will roll up to, you start with
You start
9
off
dice.
with 9 dice, 7 light grey, 2 dark grey. The light grey one, one face out of 6 has 1 coin, and the dark grey one has 1 coin and 1 foot, which is for movement.
'Cause
And
this
they,
is ultimately a racing game.
yes,
Get to the finish
racing
first.
around the little squares from
Yep.
start to finish.
Yep.
And the coins, I said it's a dice builder, aka a deck builder, which is buying more dice to improve your chances upon moving around the board quicker and buying more.
Get money, get more dice, roll said dice, get more money, improve your movement, rinse and repeat, keep going.
Get foot.
Get foot. Step 1, get coin. Step 2, buy foot. Step 3, win race. That's exactly that's.
Step 3 is fighting sticks.
Sorry, step 3, fighting sticks. We'll
And
get to
then
that.
step 4 with
Yeah.
race.
Yeah. So with the game, I said it's 2 to 4 players. And there is 8 different colored dice, which have different faces and combinations on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they also come with a card for each color. Not just one, but I think there's about 6 for each color.
And each of them have different
Right,
powers
so
and stuff. Yeah.
yes, they do.
Okay.
We played the basic game on the easy map, which basically gives you a feel for how the game works. And then there's a bunch of cards you can swap out to really ramp up the experience and the difficulty and to test yourself better.
Yeah.
So, the starting recommendation map and cards is pretty basic, and then they can really ramp it up. With the ramp up cards, we didn't get to play any of these ones, but this Captain Bark here, it says, when you roll its face of the dog, which is a 1 out of 6 chance,
Mm-hmm.
its ability is if you also have an active white and an active red, you gain 1 fan.
Right. Okay.
So that's where the
The combos of
combos. That's
you
where
guys-
the combos really start happening.
So to give you an idea, Rich Dog, who's the basic brown dog, but his idea is, hey, if you roll the dog face, you just get 3 coins, and then you have to put the dog back over there. So not as wacky as the counterparts. You did mention that it is push your luck, and that is the best part, one of the funny parts of the game, because you start with 9 dice, and as soon as you have 3 dice that become active, so like you've rolled their faces, and you want to use them from that point onwards. If you roll nothing, everything comes up blank, you've busted, and anything that you have everything gets discarded for the rest of the turn. However, there is this the bus track.
It's a fan track.
The fan track, which you can then move up.
Yeah, so once you bust, you move your other. You have 2 identical characters, one for moving around the board and one for this fan track here. Once you bust, there is a slight positive. You move up on the fan track, and as you go along, you'll build up more fans, which add to your starting amount of dice to roll for your turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you credits, which you can bank to save and buy more dice later on.
Yeah, so the biggest advantage there, you said, is that it gives you a base of, hey, you've busted a lot, we're going to give you some extra dice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. And there is also one other catch-up mechanic on the main race board, which is the red ribbons, which I guess split the game into different sectors as well.
Yeah, kind of like checkpoints.
Yeah, so like, if Damo's in the front checkpoint...
So Damo's really killing it.
Yeah, and we're 1 behind him.
You need to slow down there, buddy.
We get an extra dice.
Mate.
Thank you very much.
Mate, look, hey, getting old. I'll take any advantage I can get. All right, I aim for the knees and I hit. So I ran her away.
What I thought was interesting in our playthrough, in our pre-podcast playthrough, was that we actually all kind of took different strategies in the 8 dice, which was really cool. I took the blue dice, which allowed me to like get the bonus squares without really being near them.
Yeah, so along the board and the track, there are certain spaces which have abilities. You can trash dice, which is a common mechanic in deck building.
Yep.
So you can get rid of your weaker ones to only bring out your best ones in the future. There's credits you can land on for extra credits. There's in the bigger boards, the more advanced tracks, there are like teleportation squares, whiz you around the map a bit quicker. There's fans, so you can land on the flag and just go up the fan track for free. There's gain dice, so you can gain any dice for free that you want.
I used that to my advantage to get the roller
Yeah, you
source
got
in our
the
game.
big stomper.
And they came out. And they worked for me too.
It does work. They do work.
They do work. They're only 1 in 6, and I hit 2 of them to push me into second. Well, I came second by literally half a space. Bloody Damo got there in front. Yep. But I really like, because my strategy was take a bit of movement, but also get as many bonuses on the way through and just slowly build myself up. Whereas Damo went really hard on the Mr. Soldiers, or the Fighty Sticks, which were the red dice, and he won that quite a few times. And
I had a really bad starting tactic, because I started here to try and lose a dice real early, but just wasn't getting the feat. And you guys were already whizzing around the inside of the track. So I was a few ribbons behind and was getting lots of dice to roll, but getting no movement. Landed in front of the lose the dice, and then my next roll moved straight past it. I got 2 feet. So
yeah, this is why I kind of went with the blue dice, because I'm like, I don't want to miss out on anything. I think I'm just going to risk it, and thankfully I didn't have to get rid of stuff. But I'm going to ask, it's your game, so we obviously know you really like it. I mean, we have these awesome little coloured boxes that you bought off Etsy.
Yes, so the boxes that come with it are terrible.
Trash.
Very bad. Cardboard, which you have to fold up 8, 9, 10 different folds until you finally get it put in place. And it's a lid. It's like a stand-up box with a sunken lid, so all the cards can go, all the dice can go in the top, and then the lid can like fully wrap around and then seal as a box, so you can put the dice in the box at the end.
Yeah, okay.
But when you put the tabs in to the sides, they rip really easy.
Right, okay.
And I saw this on Etsy. I don't know. I think Zuckerberg was listening in on my voice, hearing me talk about Cubitos, and it recommended me, hey, check this Etsy listing out.
And it worked. And look,
they're great. It's great.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really cool.
With the game though, like, and I know I said this while we were playing, like the immediate feel that I got was it felt a lot like Quacks of Quedlinburg. So Quacks of Quedlinburg, it doesn't use dice, it uses bags and chits inside a bag, but it's a similar premise where what you're trying to do is you are trying to create a potion without exploding, without putting cherry bombs in the potion, or at least building out as much of the potion as possible with as few cherry bombs. It has similar mechanics where the push your luck, except again, instead of rolling dice, you basically just start pulling stuff out of your bag. The catch-up mechanism, so instead of red ribbons, it has rat's tails, and the rat's tails allow you to alter your starting position for the next round.
Yeah.
And again, even with the variable powers of the various dice here, you have variable powers of the chits. In fact, the strategy I took with this game, running the soldier, it was very much a similar strategy to getting the black chits in Quacks. And that is where the person who has the most black on their board on the round gets the bonus, whether it be rubies or they get
whatever,
their water,
extra
their
money
droplet or something like that. So the question I have to you, Rhys, have you played Quacks?
I have. You showed it to me at
That's
an
right.
early MacArthur Ball
That's
Games
right.
meet.
Why does this game appeal to you over a game like Quacks? What is it about it?
For me, when I buy my ball games, I tend to think in the future a lot about playing with my son.
Yep.
And if that, I don't know, that's not the case for everyone. It's probably a really small minority of people.
100%. That's my reasoning as well,
if you were to place this in front of a child instead of Quacks, this would be a lot easier to get it through.
Definitely a lot more vibrant.
Teacher, can I answer this question as well? I'd like to answer as well. I think I've got an answer because when you started making this equivalency or this, the comparison, that's what I'm trying to. That's the word I'm looking for. Me speak good. I also said I think I may prefer this over Quacks, even though Quacks is literally sitting right there on my shelf. And I think the reason for me is twofold. I think one, the interactivity, which is that at 3 or 4, like in this game, the movement was actually very important and the order of the movement was important because me and you were very close at the end and you blocked me 2 or 3 times. So I actually was caring about what you were doing because, granted, Rhys, I didn't really pay attention to you because
I was behind. I was way behind
us, but I was actually really worrying about what Damo was doing. And whereas in Quacks, I don't ever really care what people are doing. Maybe to go, if I'm going black and maybe I've seen people pick up black, maybe I'll pick up another one.
Yeah.
But I did actually care about, I was like, there was one moment where we bought all the white dice because we were both big on movement. So I'm sitting there going, I actually really care about what you're doing. And then the other bit of it is the fact that there is no hidden information just kind of makes it to me a little bit more visually, like you said, Rhys, a bit more visually appealing at all times. The fact that I can just look over and just see a cacophony of different colors, a caliclave, if you will, of just reds and blues and whites and just sitting there. It looks really cool. Like they're all bright, really nice colors. The brown, even for the rich dog, is a really nice brown. It's a really light sort of tone of it. And so for me, everything about the game, I will say it has, I think, the same rules upstart as Quacks. I wouldn't say it's any more difficult, although I would say that some people may not understand the idea of probability of rolling the dice, whereas with Quacks, it's like, okay, I have 11 chits in there and I'm just pulling one out now. I'm looking for that one. But
that always goes out the window when you're playing games like Quacks. Like,
absolutely.
I've lost count how many times where I've got 12 chits in this bag. I've still got my number 3 cherry bomb. I've got a 1 in 12 in drawing it.
And you still draw it.
There's no chance I'm going to draw it. And it's the very next thing I draw.
I do love these push-a-luck games, right? Go on, you won't do it. Do it. And you did it. And you bust.
And the thing is, I bring it up purely for conversation. Not because I'm suggesting that one is better than the other or anything like that.
No.
This is purely for conversation. I definitely want to play Cubitos more because it's for me anyway, it's an unfair comparison because Quacks is one of the most played games I have in my collection, especially early on, especially during lockdown. We played that game a ton, so much so that I had to get coin capsules for all the tokens because they started to fade away because they'd been handled so many times. So basically a game that is Quacks adjacent, at least in my eyes, is always going to have an uphill battle just because I have so much history. So I have so many good memories with that game. But I do absolutely agree. Cubitos definitely stands out a lot more. It's super vibrant. The one thing that I will say that I definitely do like in Quacks more, and it's purely because mechanically, I like the idea of the push your luck by pulling one thing out of a bag one at a time as opposed to rolling all your dice. To me, that feels more push your luck.
I get that. Yeah.
But again, I'm certainly not taking anything away from this game. It was a bunch of fun, and I definitely would love to play again, especially on the advanced side because I flipped this board over just after we finished playing.
And then when you said the teleporters, I'm like, oh my God.
There's teleporters and they're super expensive.
I also noticed that there's a lot more choke points, so you can properly choke people and stop them from moving if you're super tactical about it. So there's some fun stuff there to be had.
Yeah, and so because there is that race element, there's definitely a lot more interaction because you have to care where people are going. Whereas you are right, Nick. In Quacks, I'm racking my brain to think of a situation where I really care what other people are doing, and the only times I can think of is if someone else at the table is competing for the black chits, or in the final rounds where you're trying to work out whether someone else is going to take the last token in supply before you do, and that's really it.
With Quacks, I always play it that the rule is in the last round of the game. That's the only time you're supposed to draw out and show each other chits. I'm like, that makes the game for me. I say that should I don't know why they did probably because it slows it down a bit, but I'm like that should be from round one. Because the moment that you start pulling chits from your bag and I can't watch you, it's and then you bust, I just hear, I busted. And I'm like, but it's a lot funnier when we all go, and we all know Damo doesn't want that white chit, and we all go 3, 2, 1, and he reveals, and we all go, you idiot, right? Even though, that 1 in 12, it's never going to happen. That I believe, but that's a house rule that I have to add in to make sure that we get that moment. Whereas I felt with Cubitos, yes, I wasn't really cared about who busted a lot of the time, but a lot of the time you could sit there and see people going, do I want to push? Do I want to push? And you can sit there going, go on, do it. You've got 3 dice. You're fine. Go for it.
Everyone else always encourages you to push.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's only the right thing to do.
I will say, I think there was a total of maybe 5 busts in our game.
There wasn't a lot.
I've played games where people are up to here, level 11 and 12. That's just one person.
Yeah, I think we were all pretty lucky, but I also think we're all being a bit conservative.
Yeah,
I had 3 dice remaining, and I'm like, nah, mate, I'm going to bank this and just keep because I was going to bank and do it.
Yeah, because I know for me when I play these games, and this is for most games, I typically don't stretch too far into the game. I'll pick 1 or 2 things, and I say, that's what I'm going to do. So, like I said, I banked on fighty sticks and smelly cats. Just for movement. That was literally it.
Mm-hmm.
I ran most of the game not making much money, but I kept rolling movement. So I said, we're going to do it. All right. And that was it. Whereas I know Rhys, there was one time I looked over, you had like 9 or 10 coins or something. I'm going, I think I've had 9 or 10 coins this whole game.
I got a Rollosaurus, which is 12 coins, and a Mr. Soldier.
Yeah.
So that's 15.
One turn.
One turn.
It was just obscene. Yeah, but again, it is great that you can have such a simple game because mechanically it is simple. The difficulty is knowing, if you really want to sort of min max and grok everything, is knowing what the actual dice powers are for that particular round. But in the end, it's a game where you pick up dice and you roll them. Have fun with it. Yeah, go silly.
And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. 2 to 4 players. Plays pretty quick, even with a teach.
Yeah.
Replayability, very high.
A lot of variability in it.
There's another map board, double-sided map.
Yep.
So that's 4 tracks. There's 8 different dice with 4 or 6 different cards each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we knocked it out in what, 40 minutes?
40 minutes, yeah. It was relatively short.
With the teach. And if
Yeah.
you
With the
back
teach.
it up and just go again straight away.
It'd be done in less than 25.
easily.
Easy.
Yeah,
Because
And-
when people actually moving it, like rolling, you just roll and
Yeah,
we all
so
done. Yeah, right.
rolling-
Let's go. Next one we go.
Rolling is done simultaneously. You can choose to pause and wait for other people just to see what they. But that usually happens right at the end,
Yep.
where you're trying to see can they make the finish line or can they not. I might hold off, see what they do. That's it.
Okay, so one question that I think we need to start asking every time we review or we do our sort of like
Impressions.
spotlight game.
Yeah.
Is there anything we would think to add to the game or take away from the game to make it better?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think if you start adding stuff to this game, you take away from the simplicity of what it's offering. The only thing I think you may want to take away is I don't actually know. I really don't know. I think for what it's offering, I don't think there's anything I'd really change about the game.
Okay.
And maybe that's also what I probably would want to change about it is probably solved by having the variability of the player cards.
Yeah.
Which is we played with the beginner set. I mean, what about you, Rhys?
No, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I don't want to sit here for 2 minutes trying.
Oh yeah, don't want to
critique
take
it,
it apart.
yeah.
Is there anything, Damo, that you would like to change about this game?
I wouldn't change anything because I think the game is mechanically sound.
Add a bag.
You could add a bag if you really
No,
wanted
but then it's a bag builder,
Yeah.
not a dice roller.
Yeah. Or you could add like the Yahtzee cup, just so you get.
Oh
a
yeah,
rattle.
like a mini cup. Maybe go to Etsy. We'll find some
Yeah.
some roller cups.
What I would say though is
That could be fun. Roll it and then lift it up.
is again sort of like going back to the comparison between this and Quacks, and like I don't want to sound like I'm still beating this horse, but the other thing that Quacks has is the round bonus card. I think something like that for this could be pretty cool. The only downside to doing that is it could slow the game down because Quacks is very procedural. It's like, all right, now we're starting the new round. Okay, so now you're drawing your chits. Okay, so now we're doing the end of round bonuses and scoring, and now we're buying stuff from the market. This is a lot faster because when we're rolling dice, that's over rather quickly. Especially in our case where we were being either super conservative or we just bust, and it's like, well, I'm done. But still having round cards that would say, all right, everyone gets a green die this round.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
Special events.
events would be cool.
Special events would be really
something
cool.
like
yeah.
that, or say this round, all coins on the map are worth double.
No sideways movement.
No, yes, something like that. Just something.
Streaker on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the course or something like that. Yeah, that
like-
could work. Yeah.
I think something like that would be a sensational expansion to the game. It's not absolutely necessary. This is just a fart dream that I just thought of now when comparing it to one of my favorite games. But I will say that without it, the game is amazing. But I think with it would just only make the game more fun.
I did think of one thing to change, and I'm red-green colorblind, and I have troubles telling with the ribbons.
Yeah, you mentioned that right at the
Yeah, if they change that to white, that'd be cool. Because there's nothing else white on the board.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point.
And also, funny enough, we've had this lined up for nearly 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Me coming here. This morning at 4:51, I get an email from AEG, the publishers of this game. There's an expansion coming out.
Oh,
Wow.
There we go.
It's called Foul Play.
Okay.
It adds 2 new dice colors.
Fantastic.
It expands up to 6 players.
Yes, that could be fun. Yep.
And it introduces a new 2-sided board.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. It's the right type of expansion. It's just more stuff.
More
Yeah.
stuff, which would be
More
good.
stuff.
I
So-
think more players as well.
6
works
players.
fun too.
Yeah. More players is not going to hurt.
In fact, I think it only
because
helps.
everyone rolls at the same time and
Yeah.
does everything. Yeah,
and
it's good.
it would add more blocking on the map,
Yeah, it
which
makes
would be a ton of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we just crossed the 1 hour mark now for our podcast, we're just going to go into our discussion topic for this week, which is we've as we said at the start of this podcast, we told you that Rhys is one of the admins for the MacArthur Board Gamers. He is unfortunately leaving us. He's going
Not for much longer.
not for
I'm
much
not an admin.
Yeah, no, you're going 2.5 hours south down to the capital of Australia, down into becoming a Canberran. So how dare you? But that's okay. But what we didn't mention is that you were actually the first. You were the OG, the originator of the group. And so, as far as I'm aware, you started it. You brought in Damo and Ralph, or am I?
No.
I started the group.
Yeah, Rhys started.
I started the
Yep.
Facebook group,
Yeah.
and it wasn't shortly long after that. Damo invited me around to his place with Ralph,
Yeah.
Yes.
and we played Scythe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it only grew and expanded from there.
Yeah. So from there, then you invited those two in to help with the group. I then came in like a year and a half later. From that point, I think you guys had been I think for like 12 months at that point, or 18 months probably. But,
Something like that. Yeah.
and then I was very happy to find the group because I realized, like, my friends like to play games, but we're at that stage of life where a lot of people are, finding it hard to find time to come over for a games night, or if a games night does happen, it quickly turns into let's have a chat instead of playing games at the moment. But the reason why we wanted to do that is because we wanted to, just get your talk to us about, why did you start the group? Obviously there were reasons, but then for any advice for people who are looking to start their own group, what can they do about? What do you think? What are some lessons you've learned, having been a part of this? When the group's now at 60 members or something like that. We're nearly pushing close to 400.
400 now, yeah.
Which is really cool to see. But we just wanted to, talk to us about it, and why'd you start the group, and how'd you go about it, obviously, and what have you learned?
I wanted to start a group because my friends aren't interested in board games. Like my immediate friends, they'd come over and play Monopoly, or I had a different board game. Was like my first board game, which was actually it was a deck builder. It's called Shadowrun Crossfire. You haven't heard of it?
No.
It's a cooperative deck builder, which is my immediate go-to genre.
Yep.
But it is quite a bit heavy, especially for new people who aren't into board games.
Yep.
And, without their knowledge of completely skipping the gateway games like Dominion, working your way up to Ascension, then Aeon's End. It was on the quite heavier side, so they did come over and play it, and then it sat on my shelf for ages. Couldn't get anyone to play it. So, I started, after they didn't want to come around for that game, I went back to the drawing board and went, okay, I like deck builders. What's something easier to introduce players to? And I found Dominion. That was highly suggested. I think I posted on Reddit, like Australian board gamers or something like that, or just board games in general on Reddit. And everyone said Dominion's the granddaddy deck builder.
Yep.
So I went and bought that and invited them around, and they had way more fun that time around. But I wanted to reach out to other people in the community. And I saw that there was an Ingerburn group, but it was like suburb specific kinda.
Yeah.
And I wanted a whole region to try and build up a community for. So that's why I started MacArthur Board Gamers on a whim. And I think I posted in MacArthur Notice Board. It was Australian Board Game Geeks.
Yeah, the AB.
Yeah,
the
that
ABGG.
one.
Australian board game geeks.
Yeah.
Because that was when I responded to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's how we started to get the ball rolling for our group.
No,
Nice.
I remember we spent weeks of Sundays where you would say, I'm going to go to Hall of Heroes.
Yeah.
And I would say, I can't do Sundays, dude. It's like, Sundays, not happening.
I posted for weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get people to go to Hall of Heroes to play Dominion, and I just got no bites. Hey.
Yeah. So that is it was I remember it feeling like it was fizzling out a little bit until I met Ralph, and then Ralph was saying, "Have you played?" And then I remember I went. This is when I went over to Ralph's place, got to meet him and his wife, and we were playing like Roll for the Galaxy and a couple other games, and then he mentioned the group as well, and I said, "Yeah, so look, I've had a conversation with Rhys, but I've never met him." And that was when he said, well, look, let's find out what he likes to play and stuff. And this is when we just started the group. And that's so basically the group that we have now for MacArthur Board Gamers for the admins. That's what it was originally.
Yeah, it was just us
It was
three.
just a chat, just us three. And that's what it started. And if you go all the way back in the history of the group, you'll see there's just a conversation of like, hey, you want to come around to my place, we'll play Scythe. And that was how it started. And that was it. We had a game of Scythe. We played 6 Nimped on that night as well.
Yep.
And that was it. And it was great.
Cockroach Poker.
Cockroach Poker was the other one.
I went home and bought it.
Yes.
So did I after I played it the first time too. I went, oh, damn, I got to buy that game.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then from there, that's when we started to sort of communicate a bit more. The group started to grow. That was when found out about the game center opening up in Narellan. Again, on a whim, I went for a walk there about 2 weeks before they opened, and I met Ben, who was the original owner of the store, and that was when we struck a deal and stuff like that. And lo and behold, I think it was like less than a month later, we booked a Friday, and we had 19 people.
The first week was crazy.
It was crazy the number of people that turned up. Like we had enough games. We just weren't expecting that many people to turn up. And it's great. I mean, lockdowns aside, which I have said before was obviously the biggest sort of hurdle we had to cross with growing the group. It's only grown since then, and now you throw Blood on the Clock Tower in there as well, which has then had almost like a cross promotion thing, because we've had people who would normally only go to Blood on the Clock Tower now coming to the board gaming events,
And vice versa.
and vice versa. And I mean, like, it's just crazy because I've now spoken to just professionals in the community, whether it be doctors, whether it be my youngest son's therapist or something like that, and they're all members of the group, and they all say, okay, it's like, so you organize this? Yeah, there's a few admins and we organize. When's the next one? It's just really great to just have conversations with people and going, so when's the next one?
Well, and that's the thing. I remember I joined the group after lockdown, because lockdown had finally finished.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm looking for, I had, my friends all came to me during lockdown going, we are so bored, let's play games or something. And, Jackbox, and I had the board game stuff that we played and a lot of different stuff. And then I remember I was like, I really want to get back into playing some of the heavier games, and no one was around to play them. And so on a whim, I just typed in board game in Facebook, and I saw MacArthur Board Gamers. I went, what the hell is this? And I clicked to join the group and got in, and I was like, oh. And you guys, we've got a meetup coming up, right? And I've told this story before about the first time I went to the meetup, and I was legit nervous because I'm like, I don't know anyone. This is the first time I'm going to play board games with strangers, and yet then, a year and a half later, here we are doing a podcast, doing board games, talking about stuff, right?
And you turned up to one of the worst.
Oh, there was only four. There was four of us.
Yeah,
There was just
yeah.
four of us that night.
I do remember that. Yeah.
No one there.
It was-
and the store closed.
It was us
early.
three, and it was us three and Jason, if I believe correctly. I think it was.
Yeah.
But to be honest, but that night stuck in my head a lot, because even though it was just us four, it allowed me just to kind of get to know you guys. I remember we played 20-minute World War II.
So we played
Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
We played Clank. And I was like, but that was enough. I was like, yeah, cool. I'm actually legit really happy to play this, and just and then from there. But I do think that it provides a safe space and like a community group for a group of people where it's like, there's the adage, which is it's easier to make friends out of board gamers than it's easier to turn board gamers into friends than friends into board gamers.
100%. I feel that is that quote there 100% resonates with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that, and I know it's hard for a lot of people to hear sometimes, because my family loves games, but they don't really love games. They love the social aspect of being around the table and playing maybe a game as a thing. Whereas I really dig game mechanics and playing stuff. It's the reason why I love heavier games, and this group, you guys, provided a place where I can go, Damien's like, sweet, I've got people who can play these really heavy games with, and I'm like all down for it. So I guess to close up before we get to the end of the podcast, I guess the question is, you know, if people are out there and they're listening to this podcast and they want to create their own group, Rhys, I mean, you simply did it by just going to Facebook. But like, where are some places that people may be able to find, like like Facebook, as we've talked about? Damien, you can answer this one as well. If you're looking to start a group in your area, what are some ways that people may be able to go about it, and etc. Go from there.
My first suggestion would be to go to. There's a Facebook group called Australian Board Game Geeks. Is that the one?
Yep. ABGGG.
Go to there. There is a featured or pinned post that someone manages by themselves. It's a Google Doc that has a map attached to it.
That's really cool.
Click into it, zoom into your location, and you'll see little pin pop-ups of where registered gamer groups are logged in, like being logged and managed by this one person. And it's up to us, say myself. I approached him and said, "Hey, I'm starting a MacArthur Ball Gamers group. Can you please put it on the map so people know about this?"
Craig is his name. Craig Summerton.
That's the one.
Yep. I found the post.
So if you go onto there, zoom into your location, see what's around. If there is something around, try and suss it out. If it's still active, try and find out who created it. Craig might have a name for you, or just post in the group saying, "Hey, does this group still meet?" If not, if there's nothing around you locally, feel free to let Craig know about what you're planning to do and start a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Name it after your little area.
Yep.
And then post into the Australian Board Game Geeks saying, "Hey, I've started a group. If you would like to meet up with other board gamers to play games, let's do it."
Yeah, I'll say, and I know I said this on another episode, is like Facebook is hands down the best tool that I found for this. Reddit is also pretty good, but Facebook just because it has the fact that you can build up like a Messenger, so you can use Messenger for chat afterwards and so on and so forth. You can set up groups and events, and it just has all the tools there. But the important thing is find a larger online group that may not necessarily be location specific to wherever you are in the world. Start reaching out on there and just say, "Hey, this is where I am. I'd like to play games with others." You will get a crazy amount of response, and it will all be positive. I can almost promise you that, because this is the nature of the board gaming community, at least what I found anyway, is that it is a truly welcoming and friendly community, and everyone is willing to do the one thing to help people out to just play more games, because that's all we really want to do. So I will say, I'd say absolutely everything Rhys has said. If that fails, just find one of the bigger groups on Facebook, jump in there, write a post, comment on an existing post, and you'll be surprised how quickly people will direct you in the right in a direction. If it turns out, as Rhys said, that there just isn't anything in your area, start a group. That is literally all we did. We started a group. We sat on 8 people for I don't know how long. And
I literally just accepted a person in the Facebook group just this moment, because I was going through. I was like, "Oh, I got a notification on Facebook. Oh, someone's requested to join the group." We are now officially at 341 members. So literally just at that moment. So someone has just joined the group. So
that is the nature of things at the moment. So look, that's what I would say is do that, and you'll be surprised how many people out there actually are interested in playing a variety of different games. How many people are out there that you actually realize have the same interests in games?
Don't get too friendly though, or you'll probably start a podcast with them.
That's
Say
true.
that much, mate.
That's true. But on top of that as well, the best part is that you get to meet some really interesting people who have different gaming interests to yours, who then help you get exposed to different games without you necessarily needing to buy them.
Yep.
Which
Guards of Atlantis, I'm just like, because
let's
you are
be
getting
real.
it, I literally am like,
Yeah.
"Oh, but Damien's about to buy it. Do I really need to buy this one as well?"
Yeah, that's
Don't
a bad
talk about
example.
Don't talk about it.
Another option. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah.
Another option you have is go to your local board game shop that sells board games and ask behind the counter, hey, I'm interested in playing board games. I've looked up, there's no groups according to Facebook group searches. Do you know of anything? And see what direction they point you in.
Yeah, because I did do that with Game Center when I was still at MacArthur Square. I actually just walked up to them and said, "Hey, do you guys run board game nights?" And the reason why they stopped was because for anyone who
Magic the Gathering is where the money's at.
Well, it wasn't just that. At the old location, there just wasn't any room.
Oh yeah, the old store was really thin.
It was
really
tiny.
narrow, nothing.
So that was a real hurdle. But still, they were really, really helpful because this was very, very, very early on in me coming back into board games and not realizing the value of what Facebook was. And it was the store manager there who actually said, "Did you know about these Facebook groups?" And I went, "No." So, so absolutely go to your local board game store, have a chat with people there. You'd be surprised that not everyone within a board gaming store is all about Magic or Pokemon or anything like that. There will be people there that are truly interested in board games, and they will be able to help you out too.
Yep. Okay, and with that, I think, look, we're going to have to bring this one to a close because we could talk all night about why gaming groups are good and, the people in them, but we do have some beds to get to, and are you right? You didn't only just playing with dice, you also have to create, whatever. I'm going to get this one going. If you guys enjoyed what you guys were listening to this podcast, please go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@BG Gateway. You can also go and find us on your streaming platform of choice for the podcast, whether or not that be Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, go and have a look there. I would like to also give a big shout out to our website, so www.boardgamegateway.com. Go there, you'll find links to our Discord, which is slowly starting to grow. We're getting some pretty active members in there, which is pretty cool. We play board game arena games, tabletop simulator games online, so if you can't make it in person, we've got those as well. But before these two start to annoy me anymore by playing with the dice, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us, Rhys. Thank you very much for coming here. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to finally make it on here.
Yep, it's great to have you. And Damien, thanks for showing up again. I guess it's nice to have you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I'm sorry I whooped your butt at Canberra EV last night.
I'd say it was an honor, but...
And with that, let's end the episode. We'll see you next time.
Is the music rolling right now?
Yeah, it is.
How did you get that music? Where did you find it? Is it like royalty free or something?
I just went to a website. Music, and I literally going through some third piece of music that I found, and it just stuck out and just went.
I'm gonna be honest. I love it, and when I finish listening to an episode, it can stay in my head for up to 48 hours, and I just go. It's so catchy.